Okay, today's video will be going over operator selection, prep phase, phantom pressure, gap finding, and what a win condition is, both for attack and defense in this video. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Operator selection. Now the basics for both sides here, regardless of what the lineup actually is, this is just a thrown together lineup. This doesn't mean it has to be these five on either side. These are just quote unquote ideal for, let's say, the top floor of Nighthaven Labs. The attacker basics are to have a hard breach, in this case it's Thermite, a soft breach, in this case being both Blackbeard and Flores, flank watch, in this case being a nomad. It could easily be Gridlock, it could be anybody with claymores, it could even be someone that just wants to sit there and watch the flank. Utility clear, in this case we have two sets of flashes, a grenade, and Flores who sends explosive drones in. That's more than enough utility clear for when it comes to shields, people in power positions, etc. And a win condition. A win condition in this case would be considered the Montaigne, who simply is just a shield, and him existing is a way to pave forward a path for your team to get in. Smokes are arguably considered win conditions because they blind the opposition when it comes to, choke points, planting the bomb, etc. On the defender side of things, more often than not, you want to bring a wall denial. In this case, there is none. There's no, I guess mute if you want to consider that denying thermite, but typically a wall denial would be like a bandit or a Cade. Intel denial in this case would be mute, if not Mozzie, or just simply the fact that more often than not you're trying to look for drones and you're going out your way to shoot drone holes. Entry denial in this case would be Castle, obviously, with his proxies giving us information for when they do break the castles and walk through. You got barbed wire, most likely for a zombie's warehouse stairs. You got Melusi for the inner gaps like the hallways, the doorways, etc. As well as, arguably a shotgun is considered entry denial if that person sits next to a door, but we're not going to make this video too intricate. The win condition in this case would be someone with a C4, if not camera on site. So when a player dies or if a player is off site, they can simply ping and give a C4 call out to kill the planner or whoever is, in the site when they shouldn't be. That would be considered what the win condition is for defense. Win conditions on attack kind of vary from flashes, grenades, fire, getting people out of corners. Kind of the same thing for here for defense. Like if you brought a Goyo, that'd be considered a win condition up until like the very last 20 seconds of a round. But this is pretty much the basics. Let's move forward. So starting with the attacker's prep phase and what that might look like, it's simply just pre-placed drones. In the examples I'm about to show here, these are just what I would consider to be the most 5 basic pre-placed cameras that you can more often than not get safely without them getting shot, as well as me showing what their POV looks like on the map. As you can see here, that was the kitchen camera. So in the exact position it was in, it covers this much space of land, as well as what you saw in the visual representation. Here's lounge, as well as how much coverage it has in lounge gaming. Here's cargo space. Here's warehouse, as well as the warehouse space. And finally storage, and the storage space. Now for a combined effort of all 5 of these positions, this is what all drones POVs look like. If you take a quick look at this, you are pretty much covering the majority of any possible flanks or lurkers on the first floor. Mind you, this is just the first floor. Typically, players like to go second floor first, if not basement, leaving the first floor as like a roaming cascade, if you will. So that's why, in my opinion, strong opinion, these 5 pre-placed drones are more often than not less likely to get shot, because the defenders are, if the objective is basement, their basement. Some of them might come up the stairs like cargo, maybe see this drone, if not your drone sees them. Some of them might come up exo stairs over here, which passes by your lounge cam. Some of them, you know, might be an Oryx and just be weird and hop over this hatch, and maybe you see him come up from warehouse, you know? It's a matter of just knowing where they are or where they want to be, so when it's time to get in the building, you know where you can and can't enter from before it's like, oh shit, there's a guy in the corner. You know what I mean? Moving forward, this is what a defender's prep phase typically looks like. And now keep in mind, this is from the POV of one individual in a custom by themselves. This isn't what there'd be a lot more getting done basically. Not just one person reinforcing, not just one person making all the head holes. As you can see, Castle here just cut off Aqua rotate. Like if Techers wanted to come in from top Aqua, that's now castled off with a proxy. This would be top main slash connector. Just for the sake of, I reinforced this one wall here in connector, just to show what I would typically do in a round. Castle is probably the most basic form of entry denial. He obviously solidifies things that were once soft, like these barricades. It makes them a little harder to come in from now. Now, just because I'm throwing in a little bit of, spice here, where the head holes would be, where some of the rotations might be. But in terms of, like, what needs to get done, while I'm doing all these castles and proxies, most likely I got one of the four other players, if not two of the four other players, helping me with these walls for rafters, helping me with these head holes, getting the IT wall, etc, etc. And mind you, they also may have traps. Some of them might be Melusi, some of them might have barbed wire proxies. So wherever I couldn't reach, they now reached for me, covering even more land on the board. Moving forward to the attacker's action phase. Now, this is what's called phantom pressure, is what you're about to see here. I wasn't able to display phantom pressure for defense because uh, I just couldn't give any live representations of what that might look like other than like verbalizing it. Basically on defense, when the round starts, as you see me as this Twitch, a defender would be typically waiting for me right about there. This little peek that I just did without droning, without quick peeking it, without whatever, this would be considered phantom pressure for a defender who might be sticking their neck out if they're face in the door, pre-firing me. Either they successfully get the kill, or they successfully prevent me from wanting to walk through that door anymore and hesitate to even go through it because they just shot at me from this direction. And if you do this on multiple occasions, on multiple parts of the map, before you know it, what people are typically used to taking in 20 seconds, now it's going to take them 40 seconds to want to get in because now they have to either double drone or quick peek every single little thing because they're worried about someone running out on them like they did at the beginning of the round. But to get back to what the phantom pressure is for the attackers, before even entering the building, you're going to do what's called breaking barricades. And it's very, very simple. I'll show you. That's one, in case I wanted to walk through lobby. Here's another, just to cut the room and lounge in half. Here's a door that I may want to come back to later, but because we're not entering it right now, at around 2 minutes 30 is when that door just got open, by the way. Keep in mind, I'm doing an extensive phantom pressure where I have to do the entirety of the building just to show what it looks like. I'm just one person in this custom game. Had there been more teammates on the board, they'd be doing this extra stuff for me. I wouldn't have to be doing every single fucking barricade. But just to show what it looks like. This part of the game seems very boring, very tedious, but it's very necessary. Notice how every possible entry point without even a hard breach is getting open right now. That's something that later on your teammates can use to resort back to when their initial push doesn't work. For example, before even getting the breach open, you want to get this door open. Because if the breach was open before me getting this door open, I now compromise killing myself through that breach. But by opening the door first, walking away, maybe getting this now, and at this very moment, my Ace, my Thermite, my Hibana, my Maverick would start opening up that IT wall. Come on over here. The one gap I probably missed in this video here was the kitchen window. But just for the sake of like time, I was kind of like, let me just get to the end here. This is one person doing a complete 360 around the map, breaking every barricade. Had I just spawned on my park side like I did at the beginning, I'd probably only be opening up those first 3 barricades and then going about my business, if not switching sides of the map so someone else can take this side of the map. And notice how now when I come back here, from 2 minutes 30 to a minute left, realistically speaking, I'd probably be back here at around 2 minutes, maybe a minute 40, because of me not having to break every single barricade. And when it's time to come, I drone it out real quick. I see that the coast is clear. More often than not, depending on how long you take to enter those barricades that you recently opened, the defenders typically walk away. After opening up a barricade initially, they're obliged to stand there and be like, go ahead, walk in, we hear you. But then when they realize that the coast is clear and like it goes completely silent, no drones, no people coming in, no flashes, they go, "Oh, okay, they're just opening up a barricade. They're rotating." And then little do they know, you have a plan on coming back to this exact location and taking it because now it's free. Mind you, you open this, you open that, you open this, you open that. You leave so many openings without even a hard breach that the defenders are now like forced back to want to like leave this area. Had there been someone sitting right here, those windows that I just opened in long desk over here in these 2 areas, I don't know if you can see my mouse here, that gives them the idea that they're getting collapsed on. The main lobby door over here, bottom stairs got open. We might come up. This door that I just walked in from, we might come in. Those windows from the office, we might hop in. So even if there was someone patrolling this exact area, they now feel like they have to leave because they're surrounded. And realistically, they're not even surrounded by anybody. They're just surrounded by phantom pressure. And that gives them like the idea that maybe I should go back to site. And that's exactly what you want. Here's an example of using a win condition to create a gap. In this example, we were at a 3-5 deficit, and Montaigne, being a win condition himself, the fact that he's a shield, allowed us to create a gap for our team to just flood site, which you'll see here in a second. Here's the full round, by the way. The original plan was for BB to hop in Raptor's window, but he decided to take the kill route and to go for this player down here, so we had to adjust. A little bit of trolling. As you can see, if it wasn't for Montaigne here specifically, um, we wouldn't have been able to create this space. This is creating a gap here. I once was behind this wall, and now I'm in front of it. If anything, no, sorry. I was once in front of this wall, and now I'm behind it in enemy lines where they can't do anything to me because I am who I am. And as you can see, this mute is panicking between, do I focus the Montaigne or do I focus the two people flooding the door? And like I said, this creates a gap for us, aka a win condition, where now they have to problem solve, if not hold crossfires on this shield, which they incorrectly performed. This is a very simple example of a gap find slash win condition because I'm using a shield. But in other cases, when you have regular operators that have their face exposed, creating a gap can be a little bit more risky. And taking the gap can be even more like of a situational thing where if you don't move at the exact moment you see the gap or it's available, it might not still be available when you get there later on. Montaigne and shield operators kind of just pave the way for those gaps to always be open because they are who they are. Now, here's an example of last night. I played a win condition into the attacker's gap. The gap being the fact that they didn't and never cleared me from the basement floor. We are currently in storage control room, which is located on the first floor of Nighthaven Labs. Um, Here's the clip. I'm just gonna let it roll out and then I'll speak on it after. That's me in the basement. Mute unfortunately is getting pinched here in the final 13 seconds of the round. Deimos and Zofia have a pinch on him. So now in this moment, it's a 1v4 technically. But in this moment, the moment I've been waiting for the entire round, and luckily IQ's dead, is the moment in which I create the win condition. Or I play into the win condition. I didn't create it. I knew this was going to happen. Last second, they go for plant. Something as simple as just a little lineup. Boom. Let's go ahead and change POVs here. Let's see what the Maverick saw. He saw his boy get obliterated. And before you know it, he grabs bomb. He can't plant anymore. So what that shows right there is that a very simple example is Pulse, obviously, or Valkyrie, or anybody C4 below. But basically, if you saw my setup down here, which I could probably back up a little bit. Let me see here. If you saw my setup, I have my walls, well you can't see here, my single wall for Animus is reinforced, my double wall for Assembly is reinforced, as well as I believe I have rotates here, which you can fairly see here. I made my downstairs livable. So if they ever were to try to come clear me, I kind of have like a little space to run around and do my thing. This is all me. This environment is all me, whereas upstairs, however they decided to hold that, rotate here, maybe they had some kill holes above the ceiling. From what I remember, it was a 2-2-1 split. 2-2-1 split is basically where the two anchors or two support players play site. The two entries play second floor, and then the one, being myself, the flex player, plays downstairs for the win condition. Um, because there's so many layers to this defense, the attackers now have to problem solve what's their priority list. Do we work a top down or do we do a bottom up because endgame is a pulse? And either of which way they choose to go, we're still giving them a problem. If they choose to clear pulse downstairs, my mute right here would just be using these holes right here on the floor to help me with my breaches or look down my hatch to kill my animus. If they choose to go top down, the same mute, the same whoever was playing this room, looks up at the ceiling through the holes and helps the entries for when they're getting pushed. Or the third option, they just do a complete site push. And if they do a complete site push, you got Pulse below. You got two players above in warehouse and CCTV and pillar who also have holes looking down. So it's like a sandwich if you think about it. The objective would be the meat. Pulse would be the bottom bun, and then the two entries would be the top bun. You know what I mean? So it's like no matter what part of the sandwich you choose to bite first, Like you're never gonna get the whole meal. You know what I mean? Weird analogy I just thought on the spot, but you get the point. Um, just to recap, making sure I covered everything. Operator selection, we did go over that. Prep phase, we talked about phantom pressure. A little bit of gap finding, which I think can be prefaced a little bit better. Um, I didn't really show live footage of me droning and finding a gap, which I believe I have footage of, but we'll put that in another video. And a little bit of wind condition. The point of this video was mainly to just get the point across as to what players should be looking for while playing their game, and how to basically be more reliant on your thinking skills rather than your mechanical skills. Because in the game like Rainbow Six Siege, mechanical skills are cool and fancy, but realistically, you saw how much effort I did right here to win the round. Little to none. I mean, sure, you granted I got one kill here, right? But throughout the round, I'm relaying information with my pulse scanner. I'm cycling through camps to tell my roamers and tell my other people what's going on. And then when it's time for me to do what I gotta do, my job seemed pretty easy, you know? Only because I kind of made everybody else's job enough easy, Jesus Christ, easier enough so that there's only 15 seconds left when they decide to go for plant. Um, if you guys have any other questions or things you would like for me to discuss or post, please let me know in the comments. Um, thank you, and we'll be around soon. Raw edit, by the way.